Evening, everyone. Welcome to Doubles and Trebles. It's been a little while, blowing the cobwebs off here. But we're back on the racing front again. This is our Saturday racing preview, looking ahead to this Saturday's action. It's Thursday night, so we're on the 24th. We're looking ahead to the 26th of June, it is. But I think we'll start with a little bit of a recap on Royal Ascot, because the last time we spoke to you all was right in the middle of Ascot week, well, towards the back end of it. We were previewing Friday and Saturday, Smido, as I remember, and we were a little bit behind on the channel for the week, and then you really turned it round on the Friday, Saturday, so it was a bit of a roller coaster. I think in the end, 57 points staked, 81 points returned, can't complain at that. We did have some bad luck scattered in there too. You had the winner of the Hunt Cup, but on the wrong side. You had Liffey River very unlucky in the Britannia, but then some good luck with Dragon Symbol. That got turned over, of course, but I think you got paid out. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I did personally, and to be honest, most of the bookies did pay out on both results, which isn't particularly strange. So yeah, I was happy with that. I don't think there was any of the mainstream that didn't pay out on Dragon Symbol, put it that way.
Yeah, and then Stunning Beauty, of course, was another one that a bit unlucky sat in the stalls, but I think that got refunded for the bulk of people as well, didn't it?
With some, but not all. Not all. But I think last week, as we was in the description, we was actually calling out the supplier, which is not our usual style. But given the big festivals like Ascot and others,
there's quite a lot of discrepancy.
The place terms and stuff like that. So it was worth calling out the suppliers, and the ones that we did call out regarding Stunning Beauty did refund, luckily enough, because I was fuming at that.
Yeah, with good reason as well, to be fair. You were very keen on it. I'm not gonna whiz through result by result, but some particular calls worth shouting out in the Wonderful Tonight 11-1, Poetic Flair 4-1, a very impressive winner, and Fox's Tales 14-1. I know you were very keen to get against the Wesley Ward and the American runners. They were the positives that stood out for me, but then maybe some ones that were a bit disappointing: Blue Mist, Irish Admiral, Royal Commando, but let's not dwell on it. I mean, 57 points staked, 81 points returned. If we could do that every week, you'd be a happy man, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'll take it. And like I say, Pieman, in a minus heading into Friday, you did say actually that you was confident I would turn it round. I wasn't as confident as you. We had the downfall of rain, which is usually bad signals for my punting. But yeah, Friday, Saturday, Dragon Symbol feels a bit bittersweet. Was my strongest pick of the week, as you and others will know. But passed the post first, turned over in the steward's room. I was shaking my head. But yeah, we did get paid out, but it does feel a tad dirty, to be honest. But a great week, and just, away from the punting, I was just massively lucky to be there in the weighing room all week. Genuinely felt privileged every day walking in, under that little tunnel near the parade ring. There's no place like it in the UK. It's not even close, Pieman. It's not even remotely close. I used to think there was, in my very early days when I was a bit wet behind the ears, I used to think there was too much good racing at Ascot and there was a bias towards Ascot. No, not anymore. It's the place to be. There was a bit of fatigue towards the back end of the week, especially with the ground change. And there's just too many races. We said that in our...
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because you say you talk, you've had thoughts on the quality
of
the
racing.
There's a lot of racing, isn't there? It's a lot.
Yeah. There was a couple of I missed, and as we was doing the lives towards the back end of the week, Pieman, there was a couple of races that I just said, I've had a quick look, but nothing stands out, kind of move on. And, I don't like doing that. And there was one I missed out on Saturday. I don't very often have regrets of not backing one, but Rohan on Saturday was one that was so very, very pickable in the Wokingham, and just slipped through my fingers. And by 5 o'clock on the Saturday, I'd had enough and I wanted to be back home, to be honest. But yeah, it was very, very much enjoyable. Thanks for those that tuned in, and yeah, we're back on the standard, if you like, Thursday slot for doubles and trebles Saturday preview.
Yeah, and good to be back as well. So do get your comments in the chat. We're here till about 9 o'clock, maybe just after. I'm going to whiz through the Saturday action. Now, I'm going to tell you this in advance. Northumberland Plate is not a race that Smido is keen on. It's already been mentioned in the chat. Got Mr. Stephen Derbyshire in the chat already asking about the Northumberland Plate. Well, that's a race we're going to open up to those in the chat box. So do let me know what your thoughts are on the Northumberland Plate. Be really good to have some of your selections in there, because I know Smido, anything that gets too deep in the distance stakes, he doesn't have too much interest in it. So anyway, before we get to that, you guys be having to think about that. we'll crack on. We've also got Newmarket as well as Newcastle and the Irish Derby from the Curragh. So we'll start with that one. I think 3:45. Who wins that most quality race of the day? Surely.
Yeah, I think Mojo Star would be the very short answer to that, Pieman. High definition's 15-8 clear favourite, 15-8 2-1 ish. But there are at least 3 horses in this race with better form than him. All 3 of them coincidentally ran in the Epsom Derby, as you can imagine. I just thought High Definition has looked a bit slow, not good enough really in the Dante. Rightly bypassed Epsom to wait for the Irish Derby. So I think that was the right decision for this horse. It takes a while to get going, and that's probably not the best attribute to have at a course like Epsom. But yeah, if Aidan O'Brien is to be believed, and there's been a lot of hype about a lot of his horses this season, if he is to be believed, High Definition will come on plenty for the Dante. He was third in that, and he'll win this. I mean, he might win this. He might be good enough to win this High Definition, but it won't be having my money on. And like I say, I just don't think it was anywhere near good enough in the Dante. They said he needed the run and he'd had a setback earlier in the season. Maybe they did, but it just didn't look anywhere near good enough for me on that day. The next 3 in the betting all ran at Epsom, as I mentioned. Mojo Star was second, Hurricane Lane was third, and Max Sweeney was fourth on that day. Yeah, so. They fill the next 3 positions in this market. Of the 3 from Epsom, I'd much prefer Mojo Star at 9-2 to any of the others. I think you can get a bit of 5-1 now, the Star. I'd much prefer him. I backed Hurricane Lane in the Derby, but I thought he loomed up at the 2 pole, and I was thinking, he might win this. But I think he simply got outstayed by 2 stout stayers. Adair, the winner, and Mojo Star definitely bred to stay. Hurricane Lane emptied a bit, or was it the camber? I'm not sure. He didn't look like a good horse in the last furlong or 2. Whether it was the track and William Buick wasn't getting the feel he wanted, or whether he was just emptying out. Hurricane Lane is bred to stay as long as you like, so that shouldn't have been a problem at Epsom. It was a disappointing run, although he was third in an Epsom Derby. Max Sweeney wants soft ground, plain and simple. So yeah, I do like Mojo Star. Remarkably, has finished second on all 3 of his starts, and he's still a maiden. He's still not won a race. He was 150-1 on the morning of the Derby. I think he went off about 50-1. I just thought he ran a perfectly good race, although beaten 4.5 lengths. But he was second in an Epsom Derby. I think he's entitled to come on for that again. It's going to be better ground this weekend. It should be a fairer track as well at the Curragh, and he's got the potential to be up with the pace, Mojo Star. There's another horse I'm going to mention who's got more potential to do that, and there is a bias at the Curragh, or has been recently, of front runners doing well at the Curragh. Of the outsiders, the one I'd give a nod for is Fernando Vici, trained by Donica O'Brien, is 25-1. He won his last start in a decent enough race. I thought he was in good style and a horse going places. And the key to him is he can and probably will be ridden prominently. And like I say, the Curragh is a place where you can sometimes nick it from the front. But the selection is Mojo Star, and I give a bit of a nod to the jockey for Mojo Star, Ross O'Brien. Only a young lad. This will be the biggest race he's ever ridden in. He's been injured recently, so missed Royal Ascot. This will basically be pretty much his first ride back. He's returning from injury this week, and I can exclusively reveal, Pieman, that Mr. Ross O'Brien will be our first ever jockey interview on Doubles and Trebles in the coming weeks. I'm going to get that sorted.
This is what you get when you tune in live. Exclusives.
Yeah. Win, lose or draw on Saturday on Mojo Star for Ross O'Brien. He will be. We're planning on getting him on the channel in the coming weeks, so that's an exclusive right there for the 8 people in the chat.
There you go. Yeah, jockey interviews, just one of many things we've got planned for the coming months. But it'd be nice to get Rosser on the show if Adam can indeed back his chat up there and pull that one off. All systems go on that one, I think. So yeah, selection on that one is Mojo Star. What would you be? Would you be looking at straight win at the prices, Adam? Or?
Yeah, I think straight win at the prices, Pieman. Yeah, there's 11 runners. I mean, you can, if you're that way inclined, you can get 9-2 4 places each way with Sky. But yeah, I'm thinking straight win. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, straight win it is then. I'm going to move it on. I think we'll go. Well, as I said, we're not planning to delve into the Northumberland plate too much. Now, I'm just going to check the chat box because I don't want to skirt over it if people do want to talk about it. Yeah, no, gonna need more than that if we're going to delve into a discussion about it. So we've got 11 people in the chat at the moment. If you do have any thoughts on the Northumberland plate, do get them fired in the chat, and we'll try and crack to them. But I'm going to move it on. Newmarket, Fred Archer Stakes listed over 1.5 miles, 240. Logician in at 13 to 8 fav. What would you be doing at that price? You'd be backing it, or are you against it?
Oh, dead against. I think if you're backing Logician at that price, I think you've lost your marbles, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, Pieman, and I originally, when this horse was doing well in the St. Ledger, I backed him for the St. Ledger and similar races. When he was in that, I would have been more than happy. You know, I was a big fan of his, but yeah, there's no way I could be backing him at 13 to 8ish. I just think it's a crazy price. So we're going to have to take him on, Pieman. But yeah, like I say, unfortunately, I just think he's gone at the game. He showed absolutely nothing on his last two starts, and he showed some very little signs of encouragement on both of those. Maybe a return to a quicker surface this weekend might be a help to him, but it's 13 to 8. That's certainly not for me. Unfortunately for us, there's only 7 runners, so there's not much of an each way angle for 3 places, unfortunately. But yeah, it could fall in his lap, this one, Pieman, because his rivals aren't that great either. Desert Encounter's a solid veteran, solid as you like, but his best form is over 10 furlongs. This is over 12. Yeah. I've got a suspicion that Desert Encounter doesn't quite get on with Newmarket. He has tried both tracks in his life. They do have similarities, but obviously they're different. He's not had a great record at Newmarket. I think he's had 3 starts there. He's a 9-year-old now. But Desert Encounter is very much the horse I wrongly underestimate, and he might prove me wrong again. He's done it before. I should really be laying Logician with the opinions I have, but I'm not a layer generally. So we are going to be landing on a horse called Pablo Escobar. He's 9-2 best price at the moment. He was entered in the Hardwick Stakes at Ascot just last Saturday. That was a much better Group 2 than this. Sorry, that was a much better race than this. That was a Group 2. This is a listed. Yeah, he was withdrawn because of the bad ground. This is a couple of levels below, quicker ground. He is tricky. He's got a visor on for the first time. He was gelded last year. He does need it all to fall pretty right. But yeah, he's 9-2, and that's the one I'll be chancing. And he is as short as we speak as 11-4. So my suggestion is that he'll be shorter than 9-2 in the coming hours and couple of days.
Someone in the chat has just asked if you would lay 5-2 Logician for them.
No, short answer is no. That's plain ridiculous. Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I'm just going to rock it back a race, actually, because I realised that we probably should have gone in with the 205 first, which is a listed race for fillies. 15, that's a bit more of a duty field to get stuck into. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so 2-year-olds, many of them making their second or third start, so there's not too much to go at. But 3 of these did run at Ascot last week. To be honest, I think there's the wrong favourite for this race as we speak, Pieman. Najat is the favourite for Simon and Ed Crisford. Ran at Yarmouth, I think it was, on last Monday. So it's only a few days ago. It was pretty impressive. Thirsk it was pretty impressive. Did win by 4.5 lengths, but that was only in a maiden. You've got horses in here that have got form at Royal Ascot. 2 of them, like Cachet and Desert Dreamer. Now, I say form. Desert Dreamer did finish 10th of 21. Not very impressive. Cachet ran better in a different race, finishing 5th. I'd happily back either of them, to be honest with you. And I think Najat's the wrong favourite, if I'm saying it right, but that's 100-30 and shorter. That's the wrong favourite. Happy to take that on. Cachet is the 5-1 second favourite. That looks a touch too big. Ran pretty well at Ascot last week without tearing up any trees. That was in the Group 3. This is a listed event. This one, but the one I'm going to come back to is Desert Dreamer. She ran at her first 2 career starts were at Newmarket on the other course on the Rolling Mile. Won both of them. The second of which was won pretty nicely, good enough to go off 9-1 in a Group 2, a good race, Queen Mary at Ascot last week. But yeah, was kind of drawn away from it and had little chance. She was in the centre of the track, like a lot of times at Ascot last week. Everything happened over the stand side on the straight course. I think, yeah, she'll be returning here back up to 6 furlongs, which I think is better for her. Last week at Ascot, she was tried over 5. I think that was the wrong race. I think back over 6 furlongs, I'd definitely give her a chance. She's 13 to 2, 5 places each way with who, Pieman.
Yeah, Desert Dreamer then for Smido, and I've finally had a selection in the chat box for the Northumberland player. Andrew Humphrey describes it as the Northumberland Derby and offers up Dubious Affair. So there we go. There's our first solid pick from someone in the chat.
I think Hunt put him up last week, Dubious Affair, finished second at Royal Ascot. But what I would say about that Fillies race as well, the listed race, Pieman, like I say, is a couple of notches down for Desert Dreamer. I think she's definitely the most solid bet, but unusually in this field, there's no Godolphin runners and there's no Gosden runners. So it's a pretty open affair for, trainers that you wouldn't usually equate to with 2-year-olds at this time of the season going to listed events. So, I mean, George Bowie and Archie Watson, we know that they're pretty good with 2-year-olds. Stuart Williams, the trainer of Desert Dreamer, wouldn't normally be associated with 2-year-olds, to be fair, but I know that they really liked her after Newmarket. She was drawn away from it at Ascot. I think she's pretty solid. 13 to 2 each way, 5 places.
There you go. It's quite a solid selection there, that one, by the sounds of it. Quite keen on that?
Yeah, like it.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to move you on to the Criterion Stakes at Newmarket in a minute, but I will just say it's great to have Mike Armstrong in the chat. Hi, and Mike, hope you're well. He agrees with Hump on Dubious Affair. And I know you're not really one for the plate, but he just asked, with the Ascot form or against the Ascot form in the plate, do you have any comments on that in general, like taking the Ascot form onwards?
It's a quick turnaround. A quick turnaround, isn't it? So there's some guys racing off a week's turnaround because there was an Ascot race on the Saturday for stayers, and there's also an Ascot race on the Tuesday. So they've had an extra 3 or 4 days. But to be honest, no, I'm the wrong person to ask. Yeah.
Joseph Connolly describes it as the Pitman's Derby.
Correctly so.
Yeah. Anyway, away from the Pitman's Derby, back to Newmarket, the Group 3 Criterion Stakes, run over 7 furlongs. What's your fancy in this one?
Kim Ross is the favourite, 11 to 4 standout, best price at the minute with one supplier, probably more around the 5 to 2 general mark. He was the best we've ever seen him last time at A-Dog. And we've got to remember that he's a 4-year-old now. He went off for the favourite for the Racing Post Trophy as a 2-year-old. That's a proper Group 1 at the end of the 2-year-old season. So once considered a serious horse, lost his way. He's been, you're looking at his form, 9th of 9, 6th of 11, 6th of 7. But he's been gelded over the winter. Came back at Haydock about a month ago, and it was the best we've ever seen him. Look, that gelding looks to have done the trick. He was unreliable before that. He might still be unreliable, but it's certainly the first signs this season are that he's a reformed character. Carries a £3 penalty for that win, so he carries £3 more than the rest of his rivals. But on official ratings, that £3 penalty still doesn't bring him level with anyone else. Even if you factor that in, he's still the highest rated in this race on official weights. This is a Group 3, and he's already won a Group 3 at ADOC a month ago. I'm chancing one, Royal Crusade, for Charlie Appleby. Charlie Appleby also trains Glorious Journey. That's probably going to go off second favourite for this at 5 to 1 ish. But Royal Crusade, he's 10 to 1 now.
Yeah, double figures, 10 to 1 as we speak.
Yeah. I can see this boy going off shorter. Is definitely less exposed than a lot of these runners. Glorious Journey's massively exposed, as are the likes of Mukatayo, Lord of the Lodge, Duke of Hazard, etc. I'm trusting that Charlie's going to have him fit because he hasn't been seen since the end of March at Meydan. The Royal Crusade raced in a Group 2 on his second start, finished second. Group 3 on his third start and finished second. And then the first start of his 3-year-old campaign was in the Commonwealth Cup. Now, he got nowhere near winning the Commonwealth Cup, Pieman, but I'm just saying, he's been pitched in pretty deep to start definitely. With. And, Godolphin and Charlie Appleby don't mind mopping up some of these maiden and novice races at Newmarket, if that's and other courses, if that's the level they believe their horse is at. He eventually won a Group 3 on his second and final start as a 3-year-old. So as a 3-year-old, he's raced twice, Commonwealth Cup nowhere, then in a Group 3 in France and won. Like I say, clearly someone at the Appleby Yard fancied him. He was tried a couple of times earlier this year at Meydan. We know what I say about that form. Better than the 7th in the form book, suggesting that he ran in a Meydan Group 1 last time. It was on World Cup match. It was a proper race. That was over 6 furlongs. He's stepping back up here. He holds a July Cup entry. He's still pretty unexposed. I just think he could be he's the one with the most potential of improvement in the field. Would I put anyone off Kinross? Probably not, but he's too short really for me. He does have that unreliable nature. The gelding might have helped him out, but I'm going with Royal Crusade in this one. And I think standard each way terms apply 3 places.
Yeah, Royal Crusade, 10-1 as we speak, 3 places of 5th, generally across the board in that one. That's the selection. Brendan Smith in the chat, better late than never. Nice to see Brendan in. Brenda asks about Tinker Toy, 12-1.
I've just noticed that now. Not one I really considered that much. Let me just scroll down.
Brendan, if you can make a case for it on the chat, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it's typical. He's got a lot of horses like these variant that are kind of, lightly raced, unexposed-ish. Has had one start this season at Newcastle. We've seen that with the likes of Ishada and others. Some, it'll only be his 4th start. He's got a lot to do on the ratings. He's officially rated 97. The likes of Kinross are rated 114, or Glorious Junior is rated 110, and they're carrying the same weight. So he'll have to improve a lot. And I said about Varian last week, he had that one called Title that they should have ran. That ran on Friday in the Alan Kerr race, right? That should have ran in a handicap. It's finished 3rd in a Group 2 behind Alan Kerr. Decent enough performance. I just think that Connections are just missing a trick with some of these in the Varian yard. This has got different ownership, but Tinker Toy could easily be running in a handicap off 97 and being a good thing. But obviously they're not as interested in punting as what we are.
No. Well, it's a special breed in this channel anyway. It definitely is. Presenters and chat contributors alike. Do get your naps in the chat box for Saturday, and if you've got any fancies for tomorrow as well, we'll take them quite happily and listen to your thoughts. But yeah, just as we start to edge towards wrapping this one up, anything at all on that Newcastle card? I know you're not really interested in the plate, but I mean there are some. There's a sprint at 220 there. The chip chase, is it?
Yeah, good race, Pieman, but it's just the all weather gets me. It is a fair surface. Don't get me wrong, and we've seen many good horses race there. Enable and others. The list is pretty long, and it's been well supported by trainers from across the country since the Newcastle all weather's been put down. But I generally avoid it. That sprint race is a cracker, Pieman. I've not really strong on anything massively. I think it's a really good race with plenty of interesting horses in there. Diligent Harry was an impressive runner at Lingfield and would have had a chance earlier in this season, would have had a chance in the Commonwealth Cup if he was taking his chance. He didn't. Because Khaadem is one that I think, the likes of Brendan in the chat will have backed before. He's dropping down he's been impressive on the all-weather over longer trips. He's dropping down to 6 furlongs. Chill was a non-runner last week. He'd have had a chance in one of the Royal Ascot handicaps. Khaadem is the one I've landed on, but there's also a Brando in there that SD likes to back. Oh, This Is Us, who has been doing it in listed events this season, still got it at 8 years old. I mean, he was pretty much an handicapper a year ago, and he's been winning and running well in listed and group races. Ainsdale was ran okay at Haydock last time in a Group 2, so there's plenty of form, Pieman. But the one I would bet if I had to, and I am going to put it up as an official selection, is Khaadem each way. I think he's going to be the 3rd choice of the Maktoum runners in this race, the Hamdan runners, but for 3 different trainers. So I don't read too much into the jockey bookings there. Khaadem would be interesting if, and it's quite a big if, he's back to peak form. His peak form was pretty good, but we've not seen it for coming up to nearly 2 years. But then that peak form I'm referring to, he won the Stewards Cup at Goodwood. Really pissed it, basically. But he's not really replicated that since, Pieman. But there was a couple of signs on his most recent run at Salisbury a couple of weeks ago, 13 days ago. That was his best performance for some time. I think that he showed a little bit there that he might be returning to some form. If he does, 14-1's way too big. But like I say, it's a big if, and this is his first ever try on an artificial surface. So a lot of questions to ask in a wide open race. And
that will be going on the selections, or it won't?
Yes, it is on. Khaadem, 14-1 each way, 4 places.
There you go. Get that booked in for 5th then. So that's Khaadem is going on the selections there, and that pretty much wraps up where we want to be. But if you do have any general comments or questions that you want to, throw out there about the weekend racing or Ascot, any questions before we wrap up? We've got 2 or 3 minutes left. I'd be happy to take something, and it's great to see a few of you in, even if the chat isn't as busy as it was last week, but it's understandable. And you do get a bit of a drop off, don't you, after these festivals, where you've got to sort of pick yourself up and get back to it. And I always find there's a little bit of a lull after these long weeks.
Yeah, well, they should all be tuning in, Pieman. We turned a profit. We're quite happy. We was quite happy with that. So
I don't think anyone doubts the results.
Yeah, hopefully the profit can continue. You've been doing pretty well on the golf and the darts. I'm propping us up a little bit on the old horses. Easy peasy.
Yeah. Well, we're well ahead. Stephen Derbyshire says, Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff, is that Harry Potter reference, potentially? In the 405 has only ever won on all weather, and he's 33. He's too big.
Well, I'm not going to argue a single word with that. That's
33s. Yeah, we won't argue. Not at all. That's our kind of price.
Yep.
Mike Armstrong says, have a nose at Sir Benedict tomorrow. There, lads, caught my eye earlier. Chester. I don't think Smido will be having a look at Chester, but I'll certainly check it out, Mike. Yeah.
He does like he is good at picking out some random ones, Mike.
Yeah, I remember well from our from previous encounters. Yeah, it does look like we're pretty quiet on the chat, so we'll probably wrap it up there. Unless you've got anything you want to add, Smido, before we wrap up.
No, we're back to Group 1 action next weekend at Sandown for the Eclipse. I'm lucky enough to be in attendance, so we'll have a preview of that. I think the Hype Horse 101 races on Sunday, actually, this Sunday, Santa Barbara, Pieman, in an Irish Group 1 at the Curragh race Saturday and Sunday this week, and it's called the Pretty Polly Stakes. They'll be declaring tomorrow, so odds and final fields to be determined. But yeah, look out for Santa Barbara going off way too short again. This is just simply has not delivered on the track so far this year.
We have had one question in before I end it from Stephen Derbyshire, and he's just asking about, I won't say word for word, but generally he's asking about your thoughts on the clerk of the course at Ascot. With the obviously there was nearly a day's racing kind of called off. Anything to say on that situation?
Yeah, just had a difficult job to do, Pieman, last week. Do you know what I mean? If we was all to believe the weather apps and the forecast, would have been racing on soft ground on Thursday. There were screenshots being sent to my WhatsApp about, there's going to be biblical rain at Ascot. Why did he water on Tuesday? Thursday, this was on Wednesday night, and lo and behold, on Thursday, Pieman, they raced on good to firm. So yeah. I think I'm no clerk of the course expert, but I think you should react to what's in front of you rather than what's forecast, Pieman. But maybe that's one for another time.
Yeah. Well, I think it certainly is, because it's 9 p.m, so we're going to wrap it up. But it's been an absolute pleasure to be back on the live broadcast. We're hoping to have a couple of actual videos for you this week as well. I know we've been a bit quiet on that front, but as the old Euros dies down, my work becomes a little less taxing, and we can maybe film a couple of times. We've got the World Match Play on the horizon in the darts. We've got plenty of golf going on, more racing, as Smido says, including the Eclipse, and I'm sure we'll be having an anti-post look soon. Do check out our anti-post arc video that went up maybe a week or two ago, so that's still fairly fresh and relevant, and we'll be filming updates to that close to the time as well. But yeah, all that remains is to say thanks for joining, and we'll hopefully see you again very soon.
Cheers.